what do we have here? Looks like somebody sort of made their own box. Yeah. Make your own box. Found out what side the cords were on. Ah, I know what this is. Somebody had a variety of packing materials. Foam, newspaper, bubble wrap. Yeah, use whatever you got, you know. Oh, and a piece of cardboard. You know what? I shouldn't complain. At least it's not packing peanuts. I think that's probably it. Let's just get that out of the way. And all in all, it's packed very well. Shouldn't be any problems with it. It smells a bit strange. Possibly a smoky smell. This is an Atari 1040 ST with a broken piece. That looks like it broke in shipping. Ooh. Don't like the sound of that. This edge chipped off. Oh, you had it packed pretty well. I'm surprised. Anyway. Oh. Now this. Isn't that typical? Jeez. The fact that it had missing screws made it more fragile. Busted here too. You see that? And to think this was advertised, well, I mean, I don't know. It might have, I guess I can give them the benefit of the doubt. It was damaged in shipment. But that's a bummer for me, isn't it? Yeah, it would be really nice if screws weren't missing. That, the guy said it was restored, or let's see, what did he say? Hey, come on now. Purchase history. fully restored. Fully restored. I don't really think you can claim that if you're missing screws. And I would think that this wouldn't have gotten, at least this part, wouldn't have cracked if this upper part wasn't loose. But I don't know. I mean, he packed it so well. How could it be? I'm not even sure how this damage could happen in shipment. That's just not the sort of thing that, I mean, yeah, who knows? It's not like I can really do much about it. I mean, eBay has buyer protection, but it would require me to return the item. And, you know, I paid a little bit too much for something that has a broken case, but the fact is that the condition of the case is not as important as whether this thing works. So, okay, so this is a bummer. The computer works, it boots, it comes on, TOS loads, it detects the 4 megs of RAM. However, I can't get a mouse to work with it. Now, this didn't come with an actual Atari mouse. It didn't come with any mouse. I have a mouse that's supposed to work, an adapter, and it doesn't work. And the strange part about it is that it's not lighting up. You know, the mouse doesn't seem to be getting power. This is an old school optical mouse where you can actually see the LED. So I've taken the case off and the keyboard just disconnects. So if I plug the mouse into the joystick port, it lights up. If I plug it into the mouse port, it does not. So I can only suspect that perhaps there's a solder joint that has a problem. So what I'm thinking is I could test continuity between the power pin of one port with the other. Let's see. If you just Google Atari mouse port pinout, you get a pretty good diagram here of the view of the computer socket. 5 is the 5-volt signal. It does say mouse / joystick port. I'll have to verify that I'm sure they're pinned out the same. So pin 7, which is the second from the left on the bottom, so this pin right here, let's see, yeah, but for some reason the mouse doesn't get power on the mouse port, but it gets power on the joystick port. It's really strange. So I don't know. I wish that I actually had an Atari mouse rather than this adapter. These adapters you can get, they work for Amiga and Atari ST supposedly. Okay, so I'm testing the pinouts. Right, so you can see right now we have voltage. Now what happens is I have 5 volts on the joystick port. On the mouse port it's only 4 volts, and when I plug the mouse in it jumps down to 2.4. So that's kind of inexplicable based upon the fact that I've got a dead short between the two. I'm gonna have to think about this and figure out why that is. The ground is floating or otherwise not 0 volts. it's going to cause this problem too, because right now when I'm testing these two middle pins. One of them is supposed to be 0, the other one is supposed to be +5, and multimeters only measure a differential between the two. So if that's more than 0, then you know it's going to be a lower measurement. I guess I should test continuity with a ground that's on the board. The trouble is I don't really know where one would be. I would assume this shield here wouldn't be an actual ground. Let me see. Let me see if I can actually test a okay, I'm on 200 ohm range. 49 ohms. Okay, I'm not sure what happened before, but let's see here. Here's continuity. 5 volts, 5 volts. And I'm getting nothing. There's nothing there. Was I going into the wrong pins? Let's try the ground right next to it. Let's see, that's, yeah, so our grounds are good, at least in relation from one to the other. But the 5 volts is not there or is intermittent. Okay, so that is indeed the problem. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to see, this is my first time ever working on an Atari ST, and there's a frame that goes around these, but that's just for stability, fairly certain. If I take this off, it's not going to gain me anything. I literally have to take the 20 screws off of this thing and take it apart. Fun! But at least I know there's no problem here, so I guess that means I can get it out of the way. I'll get everything set up and continue on with the video. bottom, second from the left is going to be the second from the right here. Right, because this looks like a ground plane going around here. So this is supposed to be power. Now you see that? Now we have continuity. If we test the other side, oh, there we go. There we go. I was afraid of that. Oh boy. I better take these off. I'm gonna lose them. Okay, so we're getting continuity here on the 5 between the 2 ports. And now that I spin it around and test it again, we're getting continuity on this side now. Isn't that a hoot? So yeah, I suspect a bad solder joint. The way to be sure is to examine the solder joint. So yeah, the mouse is on this side, and right here is where we need to take a look. Brother from another mother. Okay, so what I've done is reflowed the solder. I suspected a broken solder joint. Difficult to see even under pretty good magnification. So we have the keyboard plugged in and the mouse plugged in, and let's see if we get anything. Just turning the TV on. Come on, there we go. Look at that. So, question is are we going to have a working mouse? I'll zoom out a little bit here. This is interesting, the because the Atari has 4 megs, I suspect that it takes a bit longer to do a test. And I've watched other videos of Atari, and I think they skip past the booting process because I don't seem to remember seeing this lengthy boot process. I'll probably wind up fast forwarding this part. So we're booted up and we're in focus, and guess what? We've got a working mouse now. It looks like in order to test the right mouse button, I'll have to load up a game. And I don't really have any other way of doing that because I don't have any software, I don't have any floppies for the Atari, but I do have a few GoTechs laying around, so I'll throw a GoTech in there. But at any rate, this is the solution for this problem. Notwithstanding the fact that I need to repair the case. I've tried to fix cracks in cases before. If you just use super glue, it doesn't work very well. If you combine it with, if you glue it back together with super glue and then cover the inside of it with a layer of epoxy, that works better. But this is my first time trying 3 techniques where first I glue it back together with crazy glue. Actually, it's called CA glue. It's commonly used for hobbyists, but it's basically super glue. And then taking a soldering iron and sort of rubbing it on the seam, making it melt in the seam area, and then doing epoxy over that. And at the very least, it'll make the epoxy stick to the plastic better because it's more surface area. It's the equivalent of sanding something before you glue something to it, because you're creating micro ridges, and that gives a place for the glue to go into, or paint, or whatever. So here's the corner that was broken off. See if I can get it close and you can see. Focus, focus. That's as close as I can get. Anyway, so you can see that there's a seam right there. So this is a piece that broke off, so I put some super glue on it. This is the stuff I use. Stick Fast Instant CA adhesive. Just got it on Amazon, I think. And once that was bonded, just have to hold it there for a minute. Then take the soldering iron, the tip of the soldering iron, and just kind of go up and down, rub it on the plastic, make the plastic melt into like a globby goop, but over the area of the seam. And let that dry, which, that only is going to take a few seconds as soon as it cools off. And then apply epoxy, which I've done, a thin coat of epoxy over the whole area. I had to do a thin coat, especially in the area close to here. Let's get something to point with. Because there's a lip right here, a cutout of this, and that's going to be the lowercase fitting into it, and I need to make sure that still fits in there. I might actually have to file a little bit of this epoxy down once it's dry. It's not quite dry yet, so I can't touch it. And so this was the part that was broken into two. It was broken twice. It was broken across here like this, and it was broken here like this. So I did it twice, and this area I might have trouble with. I might have to file that or sand that down if it doesn't fit quite into the case, the lower section of the case, because that has like, a notch right there, kind of a complex area for it to fit down into. But, essentially I think I'm close enough, and I think I won't have too much trouble getting it on there. Alright, another thing that was wrong with this, which may have attributed to actually getting damaged during shipment, is the fact that it only had 4 of the 7 screws. So I went into my parts, hardware parts, and found some appropriate sized screws. A little easier to locate than Amiga case screws, because those have like a Torx bit on them, and these are just straight Phillips. So let's see how, it seems like my repair job is pretty strong. Let's see how it fits. Some of the epoxy may have intruded into areas that need to be empty in order for the case to fit together. It just seems like it's so much nicer now. It looks fine. Looks pretty good. Let's see what we have in frame here. Pretty much the whole thing. That's good. Okay. Now one of these that came out of the case was a little shorter, and I did notice that the middle screw for this case is the standoff that it threads into is a little different, little shallower than the others. So again, not knowing much about Ataris in general, usually all the screws are the same size. Now remember, as some people have said, and what I always say, always go backwards, lefty-loosey, until you feel a click, and then thread it in to preserve the threads. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to show. Before I forget, speaking of threads and being careful. Okay, so this one post here, standoff, is an example of what is likely to happen if you don't use that technique of threading the screws in the way they were. Let's get a zoom in here. So, I guess focus and then zoom. Right there. Okay, so this has a crack in it going right down the side. And if you put the screw into something this thin and you're cross threading it, you're not matching the old threads, especially on old plastic, they will get cracks. These things are pretty long and fragile, I imagine. So anyway, the solution to that is to just simply get some epoxy on it. I used a toothpick. So I got some epoxy on a toothpick and just kind of removed it around and around and kind of wrapped this whole thing with a thin layer of epoxy to just strengthen it up and hopefully keep it from completely breaking apart. Much more of an easier, it's much easier to have this in one piece rather than have to deal with gluing it back together or replacing it with something or whatever. Anyway, so trying to hold the case together and put it upside down. When I put the keyboard back together, I was a little bit disappointed. Kind of upset with myself that I didn't examine the keys more closely. That one actually fell right in. I didn't have to go backwards with it. They have these, you know, rubber springs, you know, those little dome things that we're bound to get everywhere and get lost. And you know, I did wind up with one less than than is required, and I don't know if I lost it or if it was never there. I should have taken a really good look at the keyboard to see, but I didn't. This one's got a long way to go. So one of those rubber plunger things underneath the keyboard I was short one, so I'm going to clean up around here a little bit and see if I find it on the floor. But otherwise, maybe it didn't have it, I don't know. But look at this keyboard, is it really supposed to be that loose? It's tight over, no, it's loose on both sides. I don't see any place where you can screw the keyboard down to the rest of the case, so I don't know why this is loose. And I'm thinking, what's missing? You know, I went online and looked and noticed that most of these have shielding on them. So that takes up some space, and maybe that's it, and maybe that is it. But really the main thing that's wrong are I found these pieces of plastic inside the case. Yet another thing that was broken. The UPS guy, who, you know, I imagine UPS, whenever I think of UPS and something that they broke, I imagine that Ace Ventura movie at the very beginning. It's like one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen, where he's just kicking around the box and trying to deliver it, and it's just ridiculous. And I think maybe that's got something to do, you know, it just reminds me when I see stuff like this. So here are a couple broken pieces. And wouldn't you know it, they go into these areas. There's one here, and one here, and that's the top of where the keyboard sits. That's the top of the framing of the keyboard. Let's just confirm that by taking the keyboard, let's zoom out a little bit, taking the keyboard and sticking it on here. So it looks like it keeps the keyboard pushed forward in the case. Right now the keyboard gets to move back and forth like this. So that'll keep the keyboard this way. Now the question is the repair. Now looking at this the way it is, there's not going to be any interference with the bottom of the case. It's an interesting post right there in the middle. There's a post sticking up here, and it looks like it's got a screw hole in it for a screw, but there's nothing there, and that's just going to come up into the middle of the keyboard, and I guess it supports the keyboard. What I'm thinking is that it actually supports the metal shield, and the metal shield kind of supports the keyboard, and I believe that's why they have this stuff here, because the metal shield goes up against this, at least in this area anyway. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm free and clear here. I got all the room I need to put whatever glue and add whatever other supports. So I'm going to take those and super glue them back in, and then just slather them up with epoxy on both sides. You know, have 10 times as much epoxy as plastic, and make the epoxy actually the support. The plastic is just a reference point for me to use. I guess I won't bring the epoxy all the way up to the edge. You know, I'll just slather it on both sides, and that should hold it. We'll see how we do. I've applied super glue and glued those things back on. And now it's time for epoxy. Obviously the super glue was pretty simple to understand. I use this Loctite epoxy. It's 5-minute epoxy. It's a little warm in this room. You know, maybe 78 degrees or something. But this stuff's great. It has 2 independent tubes. It's got the activator and the epoxy itself. So they come out evenly, and you just mix it together. 2-part epoxy, your typical 2-part epoxy. Just have some cardboard to mix it on, something disposable. Once I'm done, this cardboard is a good thing to just have sit out, so you can keep track of when it's dry. I mean, you should judge the dryness by what's on this cardboard rather than try to go wiggle your stuff, just in case. But I got plenty of room to work with here. Spreading it on the back side, now the front side, right along the crack. The only thing about this is it's still kind of runny right now, so it's kind of trying to drip toward the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and let it do that. I don't know if you can see this other side. Let me spin this around. If anything, I'm just trying to put like a first layer on here. I could add layers. Yeah, this must have taken quite a hit in a specific direction to cause both of these to break off like this. Okay, set that aside. So it's tacking up right now, and oh, you can't even see what I was doing. I was working on this one. I was slathering it around there. So the epoxy has ran down, and now it's up against the case, most of it. So I'm just going to encourage it to come back up a little bit. Just going to wipe it up. It's still really wet. I'm surprised in this room that's probably about 78 degrees. I think this is 5-minute epoxy. It's judged or rated in a like a normal room temperature kind of situation, and this isn't even really tacky yet. But I'm just gonna keep doing this, pushing the epoxy up, fighting the gravity until it gets tacky enough where it will stay up there by itself. Okay, so we are solid. Our glue is dried on our applicator and our mixture surface, so we know it's dried on our Atari. Let's give this thing a shot. Let's see if our wiggling around of our keyboard has stopped. Looky there. It moves around a little bit, but it is not anywhere near as bad. And if I tighten the screws down, I'm sure it'll be better. So, another computer fixed. Excuse me.